Guys and girls, welcome back to Watch the Time. So today I've got another Pagani Design. I saw this come up just before the AliExpress 11/11 sale. I hasten to add, I wasn't able to feature it on that in and around that time, but I did feature it on my top 15 video. So if you haven't seen that, please check it out. I dare say, obviously, the price have changed since then, but I wanted to get this in. It's the Speedmaster Homage of the Omega or Omega C Speedmaster. Looks a cool watch. I'm not saying it's a one-for-one clone or copy, but there's definitely the cues they've taken from that watch, and it looks okay. The price is reasonable. I think at the time of making this video, about £70. I will put the prices in front of me. I'll get a bit more proficient at putting the prices on, because obviously that's the most important part. You guys want to know how much these watches cost. Obviously you don't want to be paying the earth for these watches. But yeah, another Pagani Design. As I say, they're coming hard and fast, these Pagani Designs. I'm struggling to keep up with them myself, and also the prices sort of, yeah, taking off a little bit. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and by the end of it you'll be able to make an informed decision as to whether this watch is for you. And without further ado, let's get the camera turned around and get on with it. Hi guys, so this is the watch. As you can see, it's the sort of obligatory standard Pagani Design packaging. As I've said before, I'd probably opt for getting this, even if they give you the option to get the more expensive one. I don't think you need it. This is the sort of NATO strap you normally get with it. Inside a bit of foam. Again, the cleaning cloth that you've probably had on numerous of their watches now. I'll put the watch to the side. Again, a little bit more foam inside. I've had to remove 4 links for it to fit my 7 and a bit inch wrist. So there's the 4 links, and just inside we've also got a couple of cards. They come with a manual and a guarantee card unsigned, but again, that's what you become accustomed to when you buy Pagani Design. They don't generally sign their products. Something they may want to look at moving forward, given the prices creeping up. They might want to start looking at making sure they get signed, but that's by the by. But let's put everything to the side. As you must know, this is the Pagani Design PD-1701. Become quite a hot little bit of property, this watch, given the fact it's paying homage to the Omega Speedmaster moon watch. And actually, not done terribly. I wasn't sure what to expect prior to it arriving, but yeah, not a bad little watch. Yeah, the PD-1701. Inside, it's running a Seiko VK63. Mecha Quartz movement, and you'll see that in a moment. When you press that, you'll see that the chronograph second hand ticks away quite nicely. Looks almost like an automatic. So the construction of this watch, everything aside from the bezel, is 316L stainless steel. So the under part of the bezel, the crown pushers, case back, solid end links, bracelet and clasp, all 316L stainless steel. The case thickness of this watch is 13.8mm. The lug width, when you go from sort of like the shortest part, I went from there to there, it was 41.5, and when you go from the 9 to the 3, including the crown, it does become 44mm. The lug width is 20, and the lug to lug, tip to tip, is 47.8mm, and that does stay 47.8, given the fact that there's no male end links on there, so it doesn't protrude anymore. The bezel on this is a ceramic bezel, and it's a tachymeter on there, fixed bezel, and the case back is signed. I'll get it up as close as I can so you can have a good look, if I can get it to focus. And I'll persist with this, like I said, guys. I think someone was saying to me, there we go, it's because it's focusing on my watch earlier, so that's what it focused on, and everything else gets a bit blurred. But yeah, that's what they've done. They've gone to sort of, as a nod to the moon watch that it's homaging. That's what it's got on the back, and all other details. The clasp is also signed, as is the crown, which is situated at 3 o'clock. Signed and screwed down. Yeah, done pretty cool. I like the way it pops, but we'll talk about that when we go into the movement and stuff, just in a bit more detail. The bracelet is actually quite nice. I think the tolerances are quite nice. It's got a bit of wriggle room. Push pins, and there's a mixture of brushing and polishing. Most of it's longitudinal brushing. but it has got sort of like a polished inner part. They are also independent links, the polished parts, which is also pretty cool. Makes it a little bit more tricky at times to change the bracelet and change the links, but actually it works okay. And as I was talking about a moment ago, the clasp is signed Pagani Design on the clasp, brushed, and it's got a chamfered edge going on the outer side and double pushers just to make it easy. And like they do on most of their watches now, it does come with a diver's extension, just in case you need to get that little bit more length on the watch. The crystal covering that dial, you probably expect it nowadays with a lot of these Chinese specials, AliExpress watches. It's sapphire crystal. It looks like a bit of boxed dome sapphire crystal from what I can see. Looks pretty cool. The water resistance of this watch is 100 meters, so that would give you 10 atmospheres of water resistance with this watch, and the weight will appear in the top right hand corner. It's almost 140 grams, size for my wrist. If you put the 4 links back in, I dare say that'll take you up to about 150 grams. So yeah, quite not a small watch, but quite a good sized bit of presence on the wrist. But let's look at the dial now, guys, in a bit more detail. As I said, on the bezel you got a tachymeter. Inside that you got a minute track going around the outer edge. You got applied battens everywhere. They are slightly smaller at the 3, 6 and 9 because of the obviously the chronograph function for the windows. Just below the batten, let me just press this button so you can have a look at the movement actually. Just below the batten at the 12, you got 2 Lume dots either side of the batten. Printed onto the dial you got Pagani Design chronograph along with the logo. They're not a plus, not applied, it's printed on. Just above, so I'll go through the chronograph just a little bit. At the 4:30 position you've got the date window, and then just to make you aware of what these different dials are, the sub dials on there. At the 6 o'clock you've got the second hand for the time. At the 3 o'clock you've got the hours for the time also, and the chronograph seconds or minutes, excuse me, is in the 9 o'clock position, and that will just keep accumulating, going round as you start up the chronograph. If you press that, as I did a moment ago, it will start. You press it again, it will stop. I'll just show you, and then press it up again, it will restart. Press this, it will reset. I'll do that in a moment just so you can see. I'll wait for it to go around a little bit further just so you can have a good idea of the chronograph minute moving, because obviously where it's only been 1, it doesn't look like it's gone too far now, so I'll wait a second. As I said, the crown is a screwed down crown. If you unscrew it, it's quite a satisfying pop, which is good. I had a few watches recently that the crown stem is a bit undersized and there's no pop, so that's quite nice. If you take it out, it will hack. Obviously the chronograph won't, but the second hand at the 6 will. You take it out to the first position and you can scroll through the date and so on and so forth. Put it back in and you can screw up the crown. In a second I'll reset the chronograph just so you can get a better look at it. But guys, I must say the dial on this, even the Lume, the Lume is actually not too bad. It's better than some of the Lume I've had on some of the divers recently. I had an Omega Speedmaster 300 Homage they did. The Lume on that wasn't very good. I dare say they've recently upgraded it to a version 2 where they put in a Seiko movement as opposed to Miyota, and they apparently put better Lume in. That's what the stores are saying to me, but I can't vouch for that. I've not had the watch. But yes, if I press the one at the pusher at the 2 o'clock now, it will stop. Press the one at the 4, it all goes back to the 12 o'clock position, or the most upright position, if you like. But yeah, that's the watch, guys. That's the dial. But let me pop on the wrist quickly, give you an idea of what it looks like on my wrist. My wrist, as I've said before, is just above a 7-inch wrist. You'd have seen at the start me wearing it outside, but that's what it looks like under my studio lighting. Fits actually quite nicely, to be honest. Looks a lot better than I was expecting it to. I've seen a couple of reviews. They weren't massively flattering, so I wasn't expecting much. But actually, yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's much better than I thought it would be. So, given that I've just said that, that will take me on now to what I think is pants and pucker about the watch. If you've ever watched if you've watched any of my videos before, you know I always start with pants. I like to go on a high with pucker. So what I'd say is pants. I don't know if you guys can make this out. You'll be able to see it now. Is the alignment at the 6 o'clock completely off? I think it's the bezel, if I'm being honest, given how everything else is fine. At 12, 3, it kind of goes wrong at the 6, so I think it's the bezel that's wrong, but the alignment is definitely off. There's bezel damage up here. It's sort of serrated a little bit. I don't know if you guys can make that out as well. I'll try and zoom in and get a better perspective for you, but yeah, that's also damaged. And there's also been scratches on the bracelet, on various little parts. There's some up here, there were some other places, which is a bit unfortunate really, getting a watch with scuffs on them. I wouldn't have expected that, even from Pagani Design. It all comes wrapped, but obviously the scratches were obviously on the watch as before, prior to wrapping, so that's not good. So just to surmise, I'd go with the alignment at the 6 o'clock. I'd go with the bezel damage and also the link damage that came with the watch. What I think is pukka, the sapphire crystal. Obviously, I'm a sucker for sapphire crystal. I know the original comes, I think it's acrylic crystal or something similar. But yeah, sapphire crystal is cool. The crown and pushers, as I say, the crown is really good to engage, screw and unscrew. The pushers are really satisfying actually. When you press them, it feels really good. When you press it again, they feel very nice to push. And they look very, very similar to the watch they're homaging as well. So they've done a good job with that. The case back, as I showed you earlier, yeah, it looks very, very cool. I'll show you one more time if I can get my camera to focus. I think that's pretty stunning, to be honest. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think that's a good effort, to be honest. And you can see the model number and stuff on there as well. The bracelet, yeah, the bracelet took me by surprise, to be honest. You tend to get the same type of bracelet on Pagani Design, so this is a little bit different. Again, sort of trying to copy or homage the Omega. I'm not sure how good a job they're doing because I've not had that watch in hand, but yeah, different and actually quite nice. And the case finishing, so the brushing, it transitions on these sort of chamfered edges at an angle to polishing, back up to brushed, and yeah, it's actually done really, really well. Actually, I couldn't believe how well it was done. I was having a good look at it and I was very surprised. The edges are clean, the transitions are nice, the polishing, the brushing is done very well. So yeah, fair play Pagani Design on that. So just to surmise, what I think is pukka, I'd go with the sapphire crystal, I'd go with the crown and pushers, I'd go with the case back, the bracelet, and the case finishing, in terms of what I think is pukka. And would I recommend this watch? Well, to be honest, given the price of the original of this watch, the Omega is £7 or thereabouts. You could pick this up for £80. So I mean, if you want to get something on the wrist and you can never afford the proper thing, I think this is not a bad little shout. Again, I think of the watches I've had recently, I've had their OP Homage, which was a decent little watch, and I'd say this is also a decent little watch actually. Yeah, like I say, I can only give a perspective on the watch that I've received. I'm sure other people's watch wasn't as advertised, but actually this watch has surprised the hell out of me, to be honest, and I think it's a cool little watch. So yeah, I would recommend this watch, guys. Like I said, if you can get it, I'll leave a link taking you to the shop that I got mine. Feel free to use it, but also do look about and see if you can get better prices. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think about this watch and maybe any other watches you may want to see on the channel. And as always say, don't forget to like and subscribe, and always watch the time. Take care, guys. All the very best.